Kristin from The Kristin Show on Q99.7. I'm filling in for Mikey this week for Word on the Street because I actually put the request in. We're talking to Dean Crow. She is the CEO and founder of the Rally Foundation, which is all about finding a cure for childhood cancer. Dean and I have known each other for 14 years. Yes. And so when I heard about Word on the Street, I'm like, I would love to feature the Rally Foundation so we can talk about Rally on the Runway. And I also would really love to do the interview because I love Dean.
I love Kristin.
Good. The feeling's mutual.
Yes,
this is going to be a fantastic interview. I think first things first, Dean, is we need to introduce anybody to the Rally Foundation that may not be familiar. Like, what is your mission and what are you trying to accomplish?
Thank you. So the Rally Foundation, we're a 501c3 charity, and we raise awareness and funds for childhood cancer research. So we want to find better treatments for these kids who are fighting cancer, and we want to find cures, of course, is what we want to do. And then we also offer family support for these precious families. We fund research all over the country, really all over the world. Because we want to find the best treatment, and we really don't care where it comes from.
Now, when I started working with the Rally Foundation, volunteering 14 years ago, I remember that number, and that number was 4% of all cancer donations. Only 4% was being allocated to childhood cancer research. I would love to know what that number is today in that 14-year span.
In that 14-year span. So really, it's 4% of the National Institutes of Health's cancer budget goes to support childhood cancer. Through our advocacy, and we did a big campaign, awareness campaign called More Than 4, we are now up to 8%.
You doubled.
So we doubled it, which is great, but not nearly enough.
8 is still very, very low.
It's very low, especially when you consider childhood cancer is the #1 disease killer of kids in America. And when a child dies of cancer, it's like 70 years of life is lost. So the average age of diagnosis for an adult is 66. And then you look at how long they have left in life. It's much shorter than when a child is diagnosed and they die. It's 70 years. So you have to think like, what could have those kids accomplished in 70 years? Plus, you would think a lot more funding would go to be saving those kids.
I always like to get to the why. Why is that number so low? Why is so little money allocated to childhood cancer? Do we know why?
We do, and it's really a sad answer, and it can really make people mad, and I understand it kind of makes me mad.
Let's make people mad so we can get people to rally.
It's not profitable. So if this is how I always tell people to think about it.
Yeah.
Like if you sat on the board of a big drug company, and there were very big drug companies in this pharma company, and you were at a board meeting, and someone from research and development came in and said, we have 2 incredible cancer drugs that we really want to pour a lot of money into. One is for breast cancer, and it's going to do this. And the other is for neuroblastoma, and it's going to do this. And you're like, what is neuroblastoma? Like you don't even know what it is, but you totally know what breast cancer is. And there's a big market for those adult cancers. Whereas kids get different cancers than adults. They get, different brain tumors. They get a different kind of leukemia most of the time. They get different solid tumors. That's what neuroblastoma is, a soft tissue tumor that only kids get. You have Ewing sarcoma, osteosarcoma, rhabdomyosarcoma, all these that just kids get. But they're not profitable compared to the number of adults that are getting lung, colon, prostate cancer. So really it comes down to money. And where can they make the most money? And where's the biggest market?
And so now I feel like in order to really make an impact, we need to educate and expose people to what these childhood cancers are. So those I don't want those names to become super familiar because I want to eradicate them.
Yes.
But people, obviously, I know about neuroblastoma because I work with Rally and Bert's Big Adventure.
Yes.
And I know what a nasty tumor that is. So I feel like it's so important. Like with exposure comes understanding, and then with understanding comes advocacy.
So I think really what's important, to be honest, is really for the public and for people to realize that kids get cancer, and that it's the #1 disease killer. So not picking on breast cancer, not picking on prostate cancer, but breast cancer, there are probably, I would say probably, 4 or 5 main types, and then under that there's probably like 20 subtypes, and under that there's probably, hundreds. Childhood cancer is the same way. There's lots of different childhood cancers, and then underneath them are subtypes. But really, as a whole, the public needs to be like, childhood cancer is the #1 disease killer of kids in America, and we need to be funding. The federal government is the largest funder of childhood cancer research. So Rally, we go in, we see ourselves as philanthropic seed investors, as you know, of the next great discovery. So we go in early, provide seed funding, and then what we want to have happen is for other organizations and the government to come in and start funding that research. So then it reaches the clinical trial, so it reaches the bedside. It is really important that people talk about childhood cancer. I think you can get very disease specific, but you have like triple negative breast cancer, you have, triple positive. It's really breast cancer has done, I think they have done a phenomenal job of it being breast cancer. It's childhood cancer. It is these little kids getting this horrible cancer, going through radiation, chemotherapy, surgery, and, really they just want to be a kid. And their parents just want them to be a kid.
Something I have recognized and noticed in my 20 plus years in media. So I've been doing radio for over 20 years. And I know when a really hard topic like this comes up, childhood cancer, there's immediate tune out because it's so sad.
It's so sad.
So I'm trying to figure out a way to, and I get it, like it's hard on the heart.
Right.
And I'm going to ask you this later too, like how do you cope? Because of course, we're going to lose Rally kids.
Right.
And that it's, and I just saw that we lost one
just
recently.
Last week. This week.
Yeah.
And it's awful.
Yeah. So I'm trying to find a way to, and I'm not, I understand it. I'm not mad about it because again, it's a really hard topic to talk about. And I'm sure it brings a level of sadness, and the world is a difficult place. So you want to protect your heart and you want to protect your soul, but these kids deserve better.
They deserve better.
Yeah.
And I think, really concentrating on the difference. It is great that we have doubled the funding from the federal level. That is amazing. But like you said, and I agree, it used to be more than 4. Now I think it should be more than 8. Like we want more than 8% for our kids. And really concentrating too on those success stories, on, where kids who are alive today because of Rally funded research, because of research that our government has funded, and what they are doing in society and how they are contributing and how they are just amazing human beings and that they are getting to live their life. So now we have Rally Kids because we're 20 years old this year.
Oh, congratulations on the anniversary.
Thank you. It's been so fun.
You can almost drink.
I know, that's what we say. We're like 21, make it to September, we can have a drink. And in with this subject, you need a drink every now and then.
I preach. Yes.
Also,
people donate more at rally events when there's been some drinking.
We do like a little bit of that. Yes, it might be part of the strategy.
Yep.
But so I think, we have Rally Kids that were in kindergarten or preschool that now are, graduated from college. They've gotten married. They've had a baby. That is what that's what you want for all these kids. They're gainfully employed. They're giving back. They're, really living life to the fullest. So I think those are really, along with the really hard stories, you have to tell both sides of the coin. That both sides of the story need to be told because there is hope. And we want to hold on to that hope, but we want that hope for every family.
And that's another thing, too. I know some topics can seem so big and seem so hopeless.
Yes.
When in actuality, focusing on stories like that and showcasing, no, you guys are making serious strides when it comes to childhood cancer research.
Yes.
So I'm going to hit on 2 things really quick. First, talking about the research, what are some of the grants that you guys have supported and what is some of the advancement that you've seen through the donations to the Rally Foundation?
So thank you for asking that question because our second grant ever was for a neuroblastoma project up at Memorial Sloan Kettering. And we helped to fund that when it was, early stage. We did that in honor of our second Rally kid, Alexa Rohrbach. And we funded that research project. And today we have probably more Rally kids than I can count who got that treatment, who are, doing well and thriving. I think of 2, I think of Kylie and I think of Drew. Both, have finished college, are getting their first job. But, without that research, because that was at a time a mouse model and then it became humanized, which all that doesn't make any sense to anybody but the scientists. But they really did a lot of work since Rally funded it, and we were able to help move that forward, kids are getting that treatment and they're alive today. So, and that was Rally seed funding early on when this was just, really in its infant stages. So that is super exciting. So there are kids alive today because of Rally funded research. There are kids who really didn't have other treatment options, went on a Rally funded clinical trial and had a really good quality of life. Because I think that's really important. When a kid is on a clinical trial, we don't want kids on clinical trials to extend their life for 3 months, but they're in the hospital and they're miserable and they're sick and their suffering just continues. We want kids on clinical trials where they can live life, thrive, go to school, play with their friends, go do their sports, enjoy activities. So we have kids who got to do that. And you do know that probably at this point that trial is not going to be curative, but it is going to give them more time to make memories, more time to live life. And that means the world to the families and to the kids.
More time and quality time.
Quality
so
time,
important.
Quality of life. Yes, super important.
I always love when I see you guys in DC
Yes,
doing your thing.
Thank you.
So what's
That's crazy.
I know.
That we're there.
But you said earlier, federal government is where you get a majority, if not all.
Well, childhood cancer, not
childhood
Rally.
cancer. Yes, childhood cancer. Excuse me.
The biggest funder of childhood cancer research, without a doubt, hands down, is the U.S. government.
So, what was the last reason you were in D.C.?
So we actually probably about 8-9 years ago, I was invited to DC to be part of a small think tank. What we wanted to do was to see where could we find more federal funding outside of the NIH, so outside of the National Institutes of Health, which houses the National Cancer Institute. So part of that, I was handed the, given the thing to go, the mandate, go get money from the Department of Defense. And I was like, why would the Department of Defense fund cancer research? Well, it turns out the Department of Defense has this budget called a medical research program. It's congressionally directed. And within it, it was like over $1 billion budget. And I was like, what? And they do a whole bunch of stuff like, burns and head injuries, but they do cancer research. Okay. So about 9 years ago, when I looked into it, they were giving $300 million to cancer.
But out of $1 billion?
Out of $1 billion, but still that's a lot of, that's still good because they're also doing a lot of like trauma for soldiers and it all has to be kind of directed.
I get it, but when you recognize how much $1 billion is,
yes.
I'm not mad, but I'm just saying there's room for more.
There's room for more. But then when we looked into it, when I had to think, now why would they want to support, childhood cancer and adolescent cancer? Mm-hmm. So we looked at it and they weren't really funding cancers that adolescents, young adults, and kids get. They were funding more the what I would call the veteran cancers, which would be lung, colon, prostate.
Gotcha.
So when I dug into it, I started looking at, well, who makes up our active military? So 86% of our active military fall within what the NIH has claimed as the adolescent young adult age range, which is 15 to 39. Well, the average age of our active military soldier is 25. Well, they get different cancers than the breast, lung, colon, and prostate. And so I wrote a white paper that said these are the cancers that they get. And then of that population, half of them are married and or have kids. And these are the cancers that their kids get. And so what we've done unknowingly is we've left behind the brave men and women defending our country when it comes to the war on cancer. So we need to go back and get them.
Look at you.
So, and it resonated with the DOD subcommittee members. So we ended up getting report language and some named cancers in the budget, in that we're in the cancer peer review program, which is all kind of technical but important if someone's listening who knows about that. And so the first year in, we got $3 million allocated for cancers in children and adolescents. Fast forward 7 years, we've gotten $317 million allocated specifically for cancers in children, adolescents, and young adults that has gone directly to the researchers.
So proud to know you.
So
proud to know
I couldn't do it without that, but so much of
it's a village. I get it.
It is a village, and like people who are listening today, I'm sure, like they have signed on to letters and they have reached out to their congressmen and their congresswomen, and that all makes a difference. I think if there's one thing I could say, to people listening who really want to help, one, of course, we love donations so that we can do that philanthropic seed investing so we can help support the families, but also your voice matters with your elected officials, because there's one thing your elected official wants to hear from you because they want your vote. So if you don't tell them what's important to you, they're never going to know. But what you need to know is someone else is telling them, what's important to them. And without your vote, they don't get to keep their job.
How did you know childhood cancer research was your calling?
So that's an interesting story and kind of a crazy one. I really didn't. I think my husband was coaching a baseball team. Our oldest son, Jonathan, was on the baseball team. We were playing East Cobb baseball. So anyone around the Atlanta area knows, anyone who plays East Cobb baseball is going to go to the pros, to the majors. They don't. But you spend your whole summer for years and years playing baseball, and it's super fun, and you get to know the families on your team.
It's a way of life.
It is a complete way of life. And I've learned there's so many other sports that have this way of life, that competition cheer, that is a whole way of life. Yep, that's a whole thing. So we were into the whole thing of that, and my husband was helping to coach one of the teams. He had been asked after Jonathan had been drafted to be one of the coaches, and so he was coaching the team. And on the team, one of the players, William Olson, who was a pitcher, was just got to be really good friends with Reed. They had this cute little bond, the two of them, and so it was really cute. And then I was teaching a Bible study, and some of the baseball moms the next year started coming to my Bible study. You change those teams up every year, you get redrafted. But somewhere in that next year, after the Stars had finished the season, one of the moms came up to me and told me that William had been diagnosed with a brain tumor. And I told Reed, and Reed was really involved. And so for probably about 18 months, William went through, radiation, surgery, chemotherapy, all of that. I would love to tell you that I took a meal, but I did not. But I did pray for him. But then he had a good prognosis. But 18 months later, he relapsed. And when he relapsed, another one of the moms from the baseball team came up to me at Bible study and said that William had relapsed. And I didn't really know a lot about cancer, Kristin, at the time, but I knew that was bad. And she asked me to come to a prayer circle for him. And so I went over to their house, and I remember thinking, driving over there, Lord, let there be 15 people here. And I drove up, and there were probably 80 people, moms, dads, kids, and we literally stood in William's front yard and held hands and prayed.
Yeah.
And you had everything going on. And so through there, that's kind of how I got involved, and I started learning more and more. And then one day, Reed and I William had almost died from a transfusion. And by this time, Jonathan and William are juniors in high school. And William had almost died from a transfusion, and I said to Reed, we need to go. I just really feel like we're supposed to go to the hospital. And so I called Nancy, and she said, yes, please come and bring William a Caribbean Way smoothie. And I didn't know, you don't take cancer kids big things, so I got the biggest Caribbean Way smoothie. And when I walked in, and I don't know why, things happen in your life, and it's kind of crazy what impacts you the most. Mm-hmm. So this really impacted me. So I walked in, I'm carrying this Caribbean Way smoothie. I look at William, and he looks horrible. Yeah. So bad. And Nancy took the Caribbean Way smoothie from me, and she said, William, look what Miss Dean brought you. Just think, if you drink all this Caribbean Way smoothie, how many calories that would be. And I'm like, who talks to their senior son like this? That's crazy. And then she took out a small, NyQuil medicine cup and poured a little bit of the smoothie in that and gave it to William. And he drank it, and then he promptly threw it up. And I was just like, this is nuts. So Reed and I stepped out of the room, and Nancy and Lee is William's dad, cleaned William up, and then we stepped back in. And I looked at Nancy and I said, this is so much worse than I thought. You have to tell me what to do to help you, and I will not make you dinner. We're past dinner.
Yeah.
And she really knew.
We're past smoothies.
Oh, we're past
dinner.
We're so past all this. And they knew Reed better than they knew me. And so she looked at Reed, and Reed said, please tell her what to do, or she'll drive me crazy. And so he knows me well. And so then she looked back at me, and she said, raise money for childhood cancer research.
There you have it.
And I said, okay, well, not to me. Well, you would think I would have it, but I was like, no, not to be offensive, but billions of dollars in this country is spent on cancer research every year, Nancy. And she said, not childhood cancer. And I said, there's a difference? And she said, yes. And I go, well, what's the difference? And she said, I don't know, but I'm telling you there's a difference. And I was like, okay, I was a journalism major. I'll figure that out. I love investigative reporting. I'll figure it out. So I said, but you want me to raise money for brain tumors, right? And she said, no. And I was like, okay. She goes, I want you to raise money for all the different types of childhood cancer, because every family in this hospital needs help and they need hope. And I was like, okay. I said, but you want me to raise money for this hospital, right? And she was like, no. And I looked at William. I go, William, your mother just struck me out. I'm 0 for 3. And she said, fund the best research you can find. I don't care where it is. We just need the best funded. So little did I know, she basically laid out in that time frame what, I mean, it was less than a 3-minute conversation, the mission of Rally. Was basically laid out. But I just really thought I would just go and tell the I figured out, it took a couple of months, that adults get breast lump colon prostate, kids get different, different brain tumors, different solid tumors, a different kind of leukemia. And sure enough, it's underfunded. So I just thought I would go tell the big organizations, meet with them, and explain that they needed to fund more childhood cancer research. And those conversations didn't go so well. So I remember Reed looking at me and he said, I think we're going to have to start something, because there is a need. So that's really how.
And here you are 20 years later.
Here we are 20 years later, and we are we're making a huge difference.
Yes, you are.
And it is
I see it.
It's such an honor.
It's an honor to bear witness to it.
Well, you're a big part of why we're successful. I mean, we couldn't do it without people like you. But it's amazing to think in 20 years, we've given away $47.5 million funding research across the country and worldwide. And there's an algorithm where we give away the money. We use a website called Proposal Central, and it will see what your investment has done. So our $47.5 million has turned into over $1 billion of additional funding for childhood cancer research.
That's incredible.
Which is incredible,
yeah.
And really speaks to it's really hard to get a Rally grant. Because we do a dual peer review process of checking the grant and making sure that it's the best funded. So you have to really get a great score to get a Rally grant. Because I really think, like, when someone donates to Rally, we need to take care of their dollar.
Of course you do.
And we want to make the most impact with that money that they give us, and we want to take care of that. So really, we have a very rigorous process to get a Rally grant, but it's paying off. So we're excited about that.
I'm so excited for you. So how I got involved with Rally,
yes.
And I'm so proud. 14 years later, here you and I are.
Yeah.
But I had only been in Atlanta for a year, and Bert's then wife Stacy was supposed to do a half marathon.
She was going to run.
You guys do all different types of events. We're going to be talking about Rally on the Runway here in just a little bit. But yeah, you all were doing the Publix half marathon.
Yes. Here in Atlanta.
We had a team. We were raising money. Stacy couldn't do it, so she asked if I could fill in for it. And I was like, yeah, sure. Not knowing, Dean, that a half marathon and a 5K are not the same thing like I thought they were.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I can do that, no problem. And then I remember at our first team meeting, somebody was like 13.1 miles, and I was like, what? I'm doing what?
How many?
So that was my introduction to you guys, and of course, I fell in love with you. But I had made a promise to a friend.
Yeah.
So when I was doing radio in Raleigh, we used to support the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation, and they still do. And
such a great organization.
It's a fantastic, love them. And we were doing radiothons for the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation, and I got very close to a little boy by the name of Cameron. Mm-hmm. Cameron Action Jackson. He and I used to go on dates once a week. He loved taking me to Waffle House. So
fun.
We also loved going to Subway.
Yes.
And we
higher end, they are all into it. Yes.
And we would do mall crawls all the time too. And I got the gig in Atlanta, so I was moving to here, and I remember standing on Leanne's doorstep, and I made her a promise that I was going to continue to fight for a cure, and that I was going to continue to try to help fund childhood cancer.
And you have made so good on that promise.
And so I moved to Atlanta, and it was, 3 months later, Cameron passed away.
I'm so sorry. The worst.
And so I wanted to make good on that promise, and I've been able to do so thanks to working with the Rally Foundation. So that's why I love emceeing your events. I love attending the events, and we're going to be telling everybody here coming up next about Rally on the Runway.
Yes, so fun.
This is an anniversary year for Rally on the Runway.
Yeah, well, it's the 20th for all of Raleigh.
Gotcha.
Yes, which is super exciting.
Yeah, and now that we know how the Raleigh Foundation started, what the Raleigh Foundation's mission is, now we need to tell people how they can support you guys.
Yes.
We got to talk about Raleigh on the Runway, which is happening this coming Friday, April 17th.
Yes.
That's Friday, April 17th at Georgia Aquarium.
Yes.
Such a beautiful venue.
So beautiful.
And you've grown.
It is the best.
We have grown over the years.
I mean, remember when we had at Bucket Theater?
Yes.
Yes.
So,
and then we went to some other.
We went to a couple of other venues. And now, because more and more people wanted to attend.
Yes.
And so it's Georgia Aquarium, Friday, April 17th.
Yes.
What can people expect at Raleigh on the Runway this year?
It's so fun. Well, the venue first is just amazing. And the aquarium, working with the Georgia Aquarium has been great. They've done such a great job.
They're the best.
But the best. So they can expect, great cocktails, and they can expect incredible food, and then an incredible silent auction, and then of course we'll have a great live auction, and we'll sell our bracelets again. And then, but the best part is the Raleigh kids are going to make their modeling debut. So each year we pick about between 12 and 15 kids who have never been in Raleigh on the Runway, and they go to Dillard's, and they have this day of pampering. And we also have Nally Automotive. They provide all these incredible cars, and they drive to Dillard's, and they have a red carpet, and we have a paparazzi there. And then the girls do a whole day where they get their hair and their makeup, and they pick out their outfits, and the guys go pick out their outfits, and then they get to go to Lucky Stripes and bowl. So they're like, please don't pamper me anymore. Let me go bowl, throw a ball. So it's
each your own. And if one of the girls wanted to go bowling, I'm sure she could.
They could, but they seem to love being pampered. So,
yes, and if one of the boys wanted to get pampered, I'm sure you all can make that happen as well.
We can make anything happen on that day. It is a magical day. And then they pick out their outfits, and then on April 17th, they get to literally walk the runway. And we have Atlanta celebrities that will come and be their escorts down the runway.
You guys have Falcons players, you have Braves players.
Yes, I mean, and it's so much fun. And some people in radio, and yes, of course. So it's very fun, and you're our MC and make the whole show special. And then, they also get to hear from a Raleigh kid. So I will interview Raleigh Kid Journey, who's also been a BBA kid.
So the crossover. Because Atlanta is a big city, but it's also a small city at small city at the same time.
Yes.
So we share a lot of the same kids.
We do, which I love, because I think being collaborative is so important.
Absolutely.
So important.
And what we've recognized too, with Bert's Big Adventure, we also offer family support. The Strip to Disney.
They'll do great.
You guys focus on the research, but you also offer family support. But by doing events like this, where you get this win-win, where you raise money for childhood cancer research, but you also get to make your kids feel incredibly special.
So special.
And like the little rock stars that they are. So Journey is a Bert's Big Adventure kid, and she's also a Raleigh kid.
Yes.
And every year you have the most adorable interview on stage, and she has personality
the wazoo.
Out the wazoo.
Yes.
Perfect way to put it. So I love that that's who is going to be.
I mean, she's so cute.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about the bracelets because I wore my Raleigh.
Thank you. How many do you have?
I have a lot. I have 14 years of Raleigh bracelets.
Yes.
So that's
people love the Raleigh bracelets.
It's one of the, so at the end of the auction, the kids come out with just their arms full, stacked with Raleigh bracelets. How did the Raleigh bracelet start?
Oh my gosh, that's a hilarious.
I knew it had to be. I knew there's a story behind it.
Pretty much how anything that happened at Raleigh is hilarious the way it happened. So remember Nicole Jones? I love her. She made jewelry, and she would make these bracelets that were at the time it was a black lava rock. It was the first Raleigh bracelet. Well, my friend Eva Green, she made bracelets too, and so we got a little Raleigh charm, and she made 50 of these bracelets. And we were at Raleigh on the Runway. It was back when we were in a department store. So even before we made it to Bucket Theater, we were in a store.
I remember.
In a department store. And we were there, and I had those 50 bracelets, and there was Raleigh Kid Madeline Gaffney was there, and she was super cool. And so I gave her this bag. I mean, it was in a plastic bag, and I handed it to her, and I said, I may at the end single you, kind of give you a little thing, to go up there, and I'll jump up there with you, and we're going to sell these bracelets for $50 each. But I'm not sure we're going to do it yet or not. This is at the show. So we're going through the show, and it gets towards the end, and then she's sitting across from me, and she's looking at me, and then she pointed underneath her chair to the bag, and I was like, yeah, just yeah, let's do it. So we hopped up and she just said, here are these bracelets and I made them and I helped and I'd love to sell them. We want to sell them for $50 each. And they were gone in a nanosecond.
Like that.
So then we had to make more.
Of course.
And I called Nicole Jones, who's so sweet, and I said, I just want to let you know, like, we copied your bracelet, and she was so excited and so gracious and so generous and said, I'm so excited you're doing this. So it just kind of became a tradition. So each year we make a different bracelet with different colored beads. And this year we're going to have, it's going to be kind of a light white kind of colored bead, kind of clear, and it's got the 20th anniversary logo, which will be super fun.
I will be adding it to my collection.
Thank you so much. We'll be so excited, yes.
So right before we started this interview, Dean, I asked you who's going to be the keynote speaker.
Yes.
And you said it is going to be?
It's going to be Matt Brewer, who is Rally Kid Caroline, who is so special to both you and I. It's her dad, and he is going to share her story.
Caroline is, she got her angel wings.
Yes. About a year and a half ago at Christmas time, I remember, we knew things were really hard, and they were hard.
She had a rough journey.
But she was such a fighter.
Right.
And so much life in that girl.
That was the thing, I think, that was people were so drawn to her.
Yes.
That even though her cancer journey was horrific. It was difficult.
So difficult.
She always had the biggest smile.
Yes.
Was just so full of laughter and joy. So my favorite.
Oh yeah, I will never forget this moment.
Favorite all-time memory of Caroline, because I remember we also I had done other events because I did a pediatric brain tumor event with her as well, because I love our crossover, because we all have the same mission.
We have the same mission, and we should all be working together. Yeah, we agree.
So I was emceeing Rally on the Runway many moons ago, and I made the mistake.
I remember watching this mistake happen, going, "Oh boy!"
No, you know what, Dean? We're gonna rephrase this. I did not make a mistake.
Gave her the pleasure.
I gave the audience the pleasure of handing the mic to Caroline on stage.
While you were holding her.
I was holding Caroline on stage and gave her the mic, and she took over the show.
Yes, she did.
And that girl, she had some pipes on her.
Yeah. And for love or money was not giving you the mic back. I think that was the best part. You must have asked 10 times.
I could not.
And then
I'm like, how? I can't rip the mic.
We both had a death grip on the mic. And it was like a tug of war with you holding her, all dressed up. She's all dressed up.
Oh my goodness!
Everybody was laughing so hard. It was the cutest.
It was. She was a precious child with just a larger than life personality.
I mean, huge.
And her family, like her mom and her dad,
brothers.
They're all incredible.
Yes.
So when you told me right before we sat down for this interview that he was going to be the one doing the keynote speaking, there's not going to be a dry eye in the house.
No, because her journey was so hard, but her will and her spirit were just so much fun and so beautiful. Mm-hmm. And I think wherever she went, people were just, like you said, drawn to her. The Atlanta United did a big thing after she passed, and they had, I know, it was just amazing. They had her brothers who love soccer, and
because this affects the whole family.
Oh my gosh, if a kid gets cancer, the whole family has cancer.
Yeah,
I mean, it affects everybody. And they did this whole big thing where they brought us to the field, and then we got to go in Mr. Blank's suite and watch some of the game, and then we got to go down and be on the platform. And actually, while we were on the platform, and the last time Caroline was on that platform, at the last minute they scored a goal to win, and we were sitting on the platform, and they scored a goal to win. Mm-hmm. There was not a dry eye, including the cheering section for Atlanta United. I don't know if you've ever been to a game, but fun, that cheering section. We were right there with them.
They won in epic fashion.
I mean, it was amazing.
It was a classic Caroline win.
It was, and that's what everybody was saying. Oh my gosh, Caroline made it happen. And so it was super, super sweet. But everybody's just drawn to this kid, and just love her so very much. And so we're super excited, very brave of her dad to come and share her story. But like you said, not a dry eye.
No, well, and I've also meeting the Rally kids and meeting the Rally families and the parents, the reservoir of strength it takes to get up there and do that, because you could so easily, I could imagine, you know what, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine, but just becoming a shell of yourself after losing a child,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And just curling up away from the world. And I don't blame you if you do.
Right.
I
No.
don't blame you
No
if you
judgment.
do. There is zero judgment.
No.
I
No.
1000% get
Yeah.
that.
No.
So,
And who knows how you would respond?
Who knows?
Who knows?
And
None of us have a clue.
You don't want to fathom it. You don't want
No.
to think about it.
Yeah.
But there are families that are in this situation.
Yes.
So
Yes.
if you choose that route, I totally get it. And then you have another route to choose, which you're like, I'll be damned if this happens to another kid.
Yeah. Well, I think, actually, this past weekend we celebrated the 10th anniversary of Grant Gosling getting his angel wings. And it was horrible. I remember getting that text from his dad that said, they've taken Grant to the PICU, and I think this is it. And I was like getting dressed to go to work, and I was brushing my hair, and I just dropped my brush and walked down my stairs and out my back door and into my car, and I drove straight to the hospital. And when I got off the elevator, where on the PICU unit, his mom and sisters were getting off the other elevator, and like we just walked down that and down the hall, like we really actually ran. And then slowly the waiting room filled up, with people, and it was horrible because you knew what was going on and you knew how horrific it was. And I wrote a little piece on my LinkedIn, and I said, they say time heals all wounds, but it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
And I said, but what it does do is it strengthens our resolve, because it's like no family should be 10 years out of not having their son or their little brother. And so that's why we rally on. And then you contrast that with, like I said, we have Rally kids that are alive today and thriving. Since Rally's been around, we have been part of 8 FDA approved drugs for kids fighting cancer, which is huge. Like adult drugs get through really fast. Mm-hmm. Kids don't. We have 20 active clinical trials going on right now that we're helping to fund, that we were a part of them getting to be a clinical trial. And that's why we do what we do, because you look at the Carolines and you look at the Grants and you're just like, this is wrong. You look at Alexa, like, this is wrong. Like, these kids should be here with us.
I used to be sad, and now I'm just mad.
Yeah, you got to do something with that.
And yeah, I'm
exactly.
fueled by that anger.
Yes, yes. And your listeners can help.
Yes.
I mean, that's the thing, is like we have different kinds of ways that you can fundraise. We have the Rally Fit program where you can donate, 50, you can donate, I always say like 47 days of your fitness to Rally and raise money with your friends. You can come to Rally on the Runway. If you want to know about coming to Rally on the Runway, please email Courtney at rallyfoundation.org, and she would love to help you figure out how to get you there. We have just tons of ways. We do the Rally Good Meal program where we serve meals in the hospital. So when I asked Nancy Olson, what I could do for her, and she said raise money for childhood cancer research, I turned and I looked at William's dad and I said, what can I do for you? I will never forget this. He said, feed the families in the hospital.
Because they don't get a meal.
I know. I was like, well, wait, they bring food to your room. And he said, they bring food for William.
The patient.
They don't bring food for the family. He goes, no, we're in a situation where we can afford to get our own food. Mm-hmm. But there are families here who can't, Dean.
Yeah.
Like, they can't afford to feed themselves. Just think about that. Like, that's 3 meals a day you're eating out. So we have a Rally Good Meal program, and so people can help with that. We help to stock the pantry at hospitals around the country, and definitely here in Atlanta. There are just so many ways that people can get involved, and we need you. You can be a voice on the advocacy. Like, there's so much that people can do, so many ways to help, because literally I picture that Caroline's not here. Mm-hmm. And I picture that Grant's not here, and I picture that William's not here, and that Alexa's not here, and the list goes on and on and on, and that's really hard. But it's like, we have to do better for them. And the other thing is, these families, and you know this, like, no family wants another family to go through this, and every family would give up every present, every trip, every memory they've made with their child. That so many of us provide that, like Rally on the Runway is a great memory thing. Bert's Big Adventure is a great memory thing. But every family would give that all up.
Absolutely.
All up in a nanosecond if there was a cure. Mm-hmm. And then their kid could be here for life. And grow up the way that we all, when we hold our precious babies, that we just picture them as adults. And they could get to do that. And that's why we do what we do. but it's also important to give people like Matt and to give people like Journey the chance to share their story, because their stories matter and their stories make the difference.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's been so lovely having you.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad that you told him that you wanted it.
I mean, Mikey would have done a great
Mikey,
job.
thank you, and I'd love to meet you one day. You know, I think he's coming. Isn't he going to help you
At
Runway?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so.
Oh, I thought that he was coming.
I think you're confusing Mikey with Ethan.
I think I am.
It's
Which
okay.
I do stuff like that all the time.
We'll
But
cut
Mikey,
that out.
you should come anyway. You're invited, Mikey.
All right, so to learn more about the Rally Foundation, you can go to rallyfoundation.org.
Yes.
All the information is there. And then hopefully when I'm on stage emceeing next Friday at Georgia Aquarium,
fun.
I can look into the audience and see your
some people.
face. Yeah,
Yes.
see your face.
We would love
and
to see you there.
See those hands
Yes.
and those paddles raised during
yes,
the auctions and getting some rally bracelets.
Yes, it's going to be so fun. It'll be so much fun. Yes. And if you have specific questions, again, please email Courtney at rallyfoundation.org, and she will get you set to the right place that you need to go.
All right. There's only one way we can end this interview.
Okay,
Dean.
I know what it is. Ready? Okay. On three. You
One,
count.
two,
Two,
three.
three.
Rally on!
Thank you. So fun.